For a fun and hearty lunch at our sing-along, I am making my hamburger mac and cheese, which is beefy and bacony and cheesy and creamy. It's sure to be a hit with both kids and grandmas alike. Plus, I'm making it all in one pot. I'm not even gonna boil the pasta in a separate pot. How's that for efficiency? To start, I'm crisping up some thick-cut bacon because everybody knows that bacon cheeseburgers are the best cheeseburgers. And then I'll use its fat to help me cook up half an onion. This will just add a little bit of sweetness. Add a pinch of salt. Just let this onion soften. It's smelling really good. Also, I feel like onions kind of become invisible in mac and cheese, so it's a vegetable that I can sneak into my kids. Onions are soft. They've got some great color on them. I'll add in my beef now. I've got a pound of ground beef, and then I'll season it with a teaspoon of salt. I'll cook this and break it up with my spoon into little bits until it's brown, a few minutes over medium-high. So this is basically a combination of Bernie and Ira's favorite foods, burgers and mac and cheese. Before kids, I had every intention of only ever making homemade mac and cheese. My, how times have changed. Whatever. I loved box mac and cheese when I was a kid. The meat is cooked. I'll amp up the flavor now with a little paprika and garlic powder. This will give it some nice smokiness, not too much heat. I'll let the paprika and the garlic powder toast a bit. And I'll also stir in a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Just a little bit goes a long way for the overall balance of flavors in the dish. And of course, I love mustard on my burgers, but also in my mac and cheese. It adds delicious depth. I'll stir this around to incorporate. The burger element of this is done. I'll remove it from my skillet into a bowl, and I'll use a slotted spoon so that I can drain some of the juices. Now for my noodles, I've got 12 ounces of elbow macaroni here. I love this shape with hamburger meat for some reason. It's just classic. And then I'll add just enough water to cover them, so about 3 cups. I don't actually need that much water to cook pasta. I'll season with a teaspoon of salt and simmer it just for a few minutes until most of the water has evaporated and the noodles are just shy of al dente because they will continue to cook as I build my cheese sauce right in the same pot. So hamburger mac and cheese was one of my favorite dinners growing up, but I loved it even more for leftovers the next day. I was that kid that brought the smelly leftovers to school in the cafeteria. It probably stunk up the lunch table, but it tasted better than being cool feels. The noodles are plump, they're ready to be sauced. As my base for the cheese sauce, I'm using a can of evaporated milk, which is thicker than your typical 2%. And then for my cheeses, I've got a combination of shredded mozzarella and white cheddar, which I love for the meltiness of the mozzarella and then that sharpness of the cheddar. And I've tossed my shreds in some cornstarch, which will help thicken up the sauce. It'll also help prevent the sauce from breaking and separating. So it's kind of a nice shortcut because typically when you make homemade mac and cheese, you build a roux and a bechamel and a marinade, but this just skips all those steps. I'll stir this around, just watch the cheese melt. This is my dream. All right, now that the cheese is melted, it's ready for the hamburger element. I'm dumping it right in. I'll fold it in, smelling the bacon. Okay, I mean, she's beautiful. And I'm garnishing with some classic burger fixins, pickles and tomatoes. Hi. Sometimes when I make mac and cheese, I hope that the kids don't like it so that there's more for me. Some pickles and chopped tomatoes. Oh yeah, these are there for the color. They'll also help cool down a really hot night. This is a job for a spoon. Good food and Roxanne's sweet tunes. Double win. For a colorful, flavorful dinner that's loaded with the veggies that my lunch forgot, I am making crispy rice bibimbap, a Korean classic that's a bed of steamy rice covered in a rainbow of toppings, from juicy steak to a runny egg to piles of carrots and kimchi. I'm gonna start by marinating my meat. I've got some skirt steak here that I've thinly sliced. This is the type of thing that you wanna eat out of a bowl with a spoon, so cutting the meat into little bits like this makes that easier. And to add flavor, I'll grate my yellow onion right in here with the big holes of a box grater. And grating it like this releases the juices and speeds up getting the flavor into the meat. It also gets the juice right into my eyes, so I might start crying. I'm just crying because it's beautiful. I love bibimbap so much. I'll use my fine zester to grate in a couple of cloves of garlic. Getting the little tiny bits of garlic like this helps distribute the flavor around the meat. 2 tablespoons of light brown sugar will caramelize and make this so good. 3 tablespoons of soy sauce for that saltiness, and also a couple of pinches of kosher salt. I'll toss this all together. Bibimbap literally means mixed rice, and it's essentially just a bowl of rice with loads of toppings. We always do a runny egg because the way that the yolk mingles with everything kind of brings it together like a sauce. I don't always do meat, but today's a special day. It's the dinner after a sing-along. Okay, I'll set it aside and let it marinate while I get going on my rice. My pan's preheating on medium-high. I'll get a couple of tablespoons of neutral oil here. This is short grain white rice that's been seasoned with salt. That's a good table. I'll spread it out. I'll let this hang out undisturbed so that it can develop that crispy bottom for about 10 to 12 minutes while I get going on my other toppings. I'll add a drizzle of oil to my other skillet and then soften up some julienne carrots, which add nice sweetness to this dish. All right, on my same skillet, just on the other side, I'll crack in my eggs. A little bit of salt on the carrots will help them soften. And then I'll just cook this for a few minutes until the carrots have softened and caramelized and the egg whites are cooked, but the yolks are still runny. Let me check on my rice. Oh, look at this. Look at that color. Now, I've got to make some room in my skillets to cook the meat. I don't want to use like 60 skillets when I could just use 2. So I'll start to plate it up. I'll get some rice in here. Oh yeah. I'll get some carrots on each bowl. And these eggs are perfectly cooked. Like that first bite of bibimbap, you've got to just go at it into the egg yolk. Watch it all ooze down over everything. And now I've made room in a skillet here. I'll use this to cook my steak. Medium-high heat for a few minutes, just until it's browned all over. It smells really good. I'll get some kimchi. I love adding kimchi onto our bibimbap. It's fermented cabbage and it's a little spicy. I find it so refreshing and flavorful. And it's an easy veggie to have on hand in the dead of winter when our access to fresh vegetables is pretty limited. So you don't always find kimchi on bibimbap, but in our house, we love it. Let me check on the steak. Oh yeah, that's looking good. The brown sugar and the marinade is what does it for me with this steak. I like a sweet meat. What can I say? I'll pile this on. I'll bring this all together with my sauce. So this is a combination of gochujang, which is a Korean red pepper paste that's sweet and peppery and hot, but not overly spicy. And I thinned it out into a saucy consistency with some toasted sesame oil and sugar and water. This truly is one of my all-time favorite meals. Some toasted sesame seeds, just add great texture, and they look really pretty. And lastly, my scallions. Yay. I'm so happy with these. All of my dreams are about to come true. Between the crispy rice and the sweet and salty steak, this is my ideal comfort right here.